$155,000. 155 followed by 3 zeros. That is how much Toyota is selling their final edition A90 Supra for. But truly, is the final edition really worth it? Can it command the price of a Porsche 911 GTS? Well, in order to answer that question, we have to delve into what the final edition truly is. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 12 of the Rated Report. I'm your host Travis, bringing you the latest in Enthusiast news. The A90 Supra has been around for 6 years and during its lifetime has made a name for itself. It has proven to be a powerhouse in the racing world, putting down some really impressive numbers with basic modifications. You could easily churn out 5 to 600 wheel horsepower on its powertrain with basic bolt-ons and a tune. Although the ECU has been a point of contention for making it go fast, there are ways around it. Expensive ways, but ways nonetheless. Putting aside the huge disappointment where it didn't resemble the FT1 concept at all when it released, the looks have actually grown on me, quite a bit to be honest. I think the car would have been well received if they never displayed that beautiful concept beforehand, and if they had opted to name it something other than the Supra. That's neither here nor there, as the car has been a fantastic addition to the sports car world. They are extremely fun to drive, and ever since the manual version came out, I've been contemplating picking one up. Then I heard about the final edition and I was thoroughly impressed. Using that 3-liter straight-six BMW motor, they bumped the power up to 429 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque. I know that isn't anything to write home about, but it shows it's more than just pretty aesthetics put on a base Supra. It definitely is pretty though. The gooseneck rear wing is questionable, but looks quite functional. The real beauty lies inside the cabin with those incredibly beautiful seats. I love that the driver's seat is red and completely driver-focused. A callback to the MK4 Supra's almost cockpit-like interior. It screamed this car is for the driver only, and you, the passenger, are just along for the ride. Let me do my thing. That is definitely my favorite part about the final edition. The rest of the cabin is black with slight accents of red, like the seat belts and the GR badging on the seats. The seats do look really nice, race-inspired for sure, but exclusive looking and with a carbon fiber backing. So you know they're light and functional for race car activities. What about the performance? A measly 47 horsepower increase is okay, but where's all that extra money going towards? Well, aside from those seats, which I'm certain is easily $10K for the pair, they integrated advanced suspension components like KW coilovers and aluminum bushings for the rear subframe. You also get 19-inch Brembo front brakes, an Aquapovic titanium exhaust muffler, and some lightweight TGR branded staggered wheels. 19 inches in the front and 20 inches for the rear. Wrapped around them are some fat, sticky Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires, running 265/35/19 in the front and 285/30/20s in the rear. The final edition also comes strictly stickly with a 6-speed manual. All in all, these upgrades sound really nice and I'm sure the car is going to be more fun than ever. However, this still does not justify the egregious price tag. So what gives? The key factor here is exclusivity. Toyota will only be selling 300 final editions worldwide. That is some serious limited numbers and the real reason behind such a price tag. This car will undoubtedly become a collector's model that you will probably never see outside of a high-end cars and coffee meet, if you're lucky. Mercedes seems to be less talked about when it comes to performance vehicles. They don't make boring cars, they don't make ugly cars, but they also don't make cheap cars. Classified as a luxury brand, the first thing you think of when you hear Mercedes is not high-end performance, but they do have some prime examples, such as the latest AMG GT63 PRO, a nearly $200,000 track-focused performance car with everyday usability. That brings the question, for such a high price tag, is it worth it? In order to answer that, we need to go over what the GT63 PRO does right and what it gets wrong. The original GT63 is more of a grand touring car, as the name suggests. The Pro focuses more on track performance with upgrades to back up the statement. The first upgrade being a modest bump in power from 577 horsepower to 603 horsepower, and a torque increase from 590 pound-feet to 627 pound-feet. To complement that extra horsepower will be two beefed up radiators mounted in the front wheel arches. The two differentials and transfer case also get their own radiators, with water pumps to help maintain the all-wheel drive system's performance over repeated track sessions. They are going for long-term reliability, which is a very nice attention to detail. They've redesigned the front fascia to allow more air to flow through and to reduce front axle lift. The addition of a rear spoiler contributes to 33 extra pounds of downforce. Carbon ceramic brakes being standard means you'll have no problem with brake fade as you crank out those lap times. There's also an adjustable front splitter and adaptive damper for the suspension. What makes the GT63 Pro great is not all these upgrades, but the fact that it's still a GT car at heart. It's made for street driving and is still usable as a spirited road car, but it can now hang on the track with some of the heavy hitters. The problem with the GT63 Pro is that it will be overshadowed by the GTR when it releases. This is a great mid version of the car that you can occasionally drive to the track, dish out some quick lap times, and then drive home with little worry. That being said, the upgrades will mean that if you intend to use it regularly, it will need more maintenance more frequently, and it won't be cheap by any means. Not to mention, most Mercedes owners don't really track their cars. I've met a few here and there, but they generally opt for the GTR models and are few and far between. The GT63 Pro will most likely fall between the cracks as a model that will be overlooked, even though it's a great option. And with such a high price, there are other options that are just as good, if not better. For example, you can opt for the previous era AMG GTR for well under $200K, a Porsche 911 GT3, McLaren 570S, Ferrari 458 Italia, Nismo GTR, and quite a few other options. If I had $200K to drop on a track car that I could also use on the street, the GT63 Pro would probably not be in my top 3 choices. The Lamborghini Revuelto has been out and about ever since its release, and has some proving to do. It was put against the SF90 on CarWow, where Matt and Tommy raced against each other. During that race, it was decidedly beaten without contest. Then it had its rematch a few months later with Yanni at the helm of the Lambo, and still failed to come out on top, this time not only losing to the SF90, but barely edging out its lesser sibling, the 296. I was rooting for the Revuelto, but with those losses, it was looking grim. Well, another awesome channel, Drag Times, did their own testing, but on an actual drag strip. Brooks, the host, runs his cars there all the time and wanted to see if the Revuelto could beat his SF90 time at the track. Well, it did, but barely, running a 9.46 seconds quarter mile compared to the SF90's 9.5 seconds. It's safe to say that these cars are quite equal in performance when it comes to speed. It feels like Lamborghini has only just caught up to Ferrari, but let's not forget this is only the base Revuelto. There are still multiple trims that will eventually grace the model, such as the S, SV, SVJ, and maybe even its own Ultimate. Not to mention, Lamborghini has retained the all-natural V12 engine with no forced induction. There's something about an NA V12 sound that just can't be matched. People like to compare Lamborghini with Ferrari, as that is where Lamborghini's birth stemmed. But Lamborghini has always done its own thing, and it's always been quite opposite from Ferrari. The two brands couldn't be further from each other in how they operate. When you sit down and think about it, that is the beauty of Lamborghini and why they exist. They aren't comparing themselves to Ferrari to outdo them at their own game, but to capture an essence that Ferrari could never capture. For example, Ferrari's design philosophy: elegant, smooth, aerodynamic. Lamborghini's: aggressive, angular, and futuristic. The sound they make: Ferraris are high-pitched, sharp, and F1 inspired. Lamborghinis: loud, raw, and animalistic. The driving experience: Ferraris are more precise, balanced, and race-focused. Lamborghinis: brutal, wild, and dramatic. Most importantly, their brand identity. Ferraris are prestigious, refined, and more traditional. Lamborghini is bold, rebellious, and unconventional. Lamborghini and Ferrari are two sides of the same coin, providing what the other lacks, and that is what helps drive the enthusiast world forward. What do you guys think? Leave a comment in the section below and let's talk about it. That's all today for the Radar Report. Be sure to check out last week's video and subscribe to stay updated for the latest enthusiast news. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.